Welcome to the Perimeta Podcast. This is the podcast where we talk about what actually happens to your body, your brain, and your metabolism in perimenopause without all the bullshit, without the shame, and without being told your labs are normal. I'm Sav, the founder of Savage Fitness, and today we're going to talk about something that most of us women are feeling, but no one is necessarily talking about. Stay tuned. You're not going to like this, but I'm going to say it anyway. If you are taking GLP-1s or peptides while your hormones are still dysregulated, you're not fixing the problem. You're just making it more expensive. I spoke to a woman recently who had lost 20 pounds on a GLP-1, but she was still waking up in the middle of the night, exhausted by 6 p.m., snapping at her husband for no reason, craving sugar all the time, and feeling like a stranger in her body. She literally didn't recognize herself. Not to mention, she gained 10 of those pounds back as soon as she got off of the GLP. So she did what most high-functioning women do. She bought $1,000 worth of peptides. However, this was just a 1-month supply. So that means that she is going to have to continue buying $1,000 a month worth of peptides in order to sustain the results. I'm not against peptides. I'm currently taking a peptide called GHKCU. If you're not familiar, this peptide is basically like the beauty peptide. It's like the hair, skin, and nails peptide, right? I'm taking it specifically for my skin to help with my scarring. Now, imagine if I took this peptide for my skin, but didn't wash my face, didn't have a proper skincare routine, didn't wear sunscreen. That wouldn't make any fucking sense, right? So that's kind of how it is if you are taking a peptide for weight loss or even a GLP-1 for weight loss when your hormones are still fucked up. You are not addressing the root cause. You are literally just putting a expensive as fuck Band-Aid over it. Now, I know that since GLP-1s have been out for a while, now we're seeing both sides, right? At first, it was like a miracle. Everyone was like, oh my God, finally, I can literally just take a shot and I don't crave food anymore. This is amazing. I can still eat food. I can actually portion control. And I also love this about GLP-1s that they help with addiction. I myself microdosed GLP-1 for a little bit to manage my alcohol cravings. But even I didn't realize that I was putting a Band-Aid over something. I didn't address the reason that I was craving alcohol so much in the first place. Okay. Turns out the reason I was craving alcohol so much is because my hormones were fucked up. When you are in perimenopause, which if you're listening to this, you very likely are, welcome to the club. It gets better, I promise. You become less resistant to insulin, okay? And the GLP-1s really help with that. So if you're noticing that your cravings for sugar are ramping up and maybe you've never really had a big sweet tooth, or maybe it's just gotten uncontrollable, that is probably an indication that you need to take a look at your insulin. Because I'll tell you what, that GLP-1 helped suppress my alcohol and sugar cravings, but it didn't help with my anxiety and depression and my inability to handle stressful situations or my inability to regulate my emotions. That shit stayed. So yay, I wasn't a raging alcoholic, but all those other factors were still there. And nobody likes a crazy bitch, whether she's skinny or fat, whether she's drunk or sober. She's still fucking crazy. So we have to get down to the root cause first, because otherwise you are literally just fighting an expensive uphill battle. Because, for example, peptides, they're not meant to be the whole solution. They're kind of like supplements. They are meant to be a supplement to everything else that you're doing. You're not going to see optimal benefits, and you're going to have to buy more of it. You're going to have to increase your dosage higher and quicker than if you were doing all those other things. When you don't fix what's underneath, that's when we start seeing digestive issues. All of these things are surfacing now with GLP-1s, and a lot of people are getting gastroparesis, for example, or they have to get the colostomy bag. That's not because the drug is bad. That's because the drug was being misused. So it's really, really fucking important for your long-term health, not just for your bank account, to make sure that you are not just relying on this shit and throwing it at a dysregulated body. Okay? Because that is what could happen. I also really want to go back to the nervous system regulation, because this is a big deal. You put a lot on your spouse, on your family, on your friends, your employees. If you own a business, you put a lot on the other people around you when you are dysregulated. And that is completely unfair to them. I remember Jake and I were trying to be intimate, and it had been a long time because of me. I was going through my shit at the time. I was deep into my perimenopause, depression. This was before I was actively focusing on regulating my hormones because I was in denial. I didn't think that there was a problem. We've all been there, okay? But anyway, it had been weeks, I think. It had even been probably more than a month. So I was like, okay, we have to do this. I couldn't get out of my head. The whole time, I'm thinking about my to-do list, thinking about people I need to hire, thinking about my taxes, thinking about just literally everything except for what we were doing. And that's a problem. Like, imagine if your husband was just thinking about snowboarding or something, golf, when you're trying to be intimate. And that's just one example, because my husband can tell, he literally, like, he didn't give it much time. He gave it like a minute or two to let me pull myself out of it. And then he was like, do you even want to do this right now? And I was like, yes, I do, but I just can't mentally get there. Oh, and I felt so fucking bad. But these are not the only moments. It also shows up in other areas. I have gone through a few really, really good team members within my business, and they wouldn't have left if I was regulated. And if any of you guys are listening to this right now, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't know what I didn't know, I guess. But it's so incredibly important to make sure that you are hormonally healthy, because that's what the people around you deserve. And not everyone is going to be willing to stick around and wait for you to figure it the fuck out. Like I said, I lost some really fucking great team members because I was a crazy bitch. I was literally like fucking emailing everyone at 3 a.m., sitting there at my desk on a Wednesday with some wine and trying to like change everything in the business in one night. That's what happens when your hormones are all fucked up. You act like a different person. And it's almost like you're like seeing it happen. You're hearing the words coming out of your mouth, but you can't do anything about it. It's almost like you're dreaming and you're watching yourself. But the difference is you have control over this because it's not a fucking dream. It's your fucking life. And the way that you control your fucking life is to assess the data. Stop going off of feelings. Stop buying the peptides just because your fucking friend saw success with them. Stop getting on the GLP-1 because your doctor, who said your labs are normal, said this is the best way for you to lose weight. That's something that you got to question. We need to learn how to advocate for ourselves these days because no one cares to do it for us. If you brought your car into the shop and said, hey, my car is making a funny sound, and instead of running a diagnostic, they just rotated your tires and sent you on your way and said that should help. That would be absolutely unacceptable. What if you start driving home and your brakes don't fucking work because they didn't do a proper assessment of the problem? They just fixed whatever problem they thought it was. That is what it is when you are going to your doctor and they are not running labs, or they're running labs and always telling you it's normal because, let me tell you, the system wants to keep you sick. So they usually run the labs that are easiest to bill the insurance company for, and those typically give us zero answers. And then they give you a solution that's literally like them just rotating your tires and sending you on your way because they don't give a fuck to actually figure out what the problem is. They just want to shut you up and get you out of there. This is why we always start with lab work. Once we determine what the problem is and confirm it with your lab work, because we don't want to guess, that don't make any sense, then we can attack it head on. And we're able to correct it much quicker and much easier because we know exactly what the problem is. Then we reevaluate. Because there's usually not just one problem. There's usually an issue with your metabolism, your GI, and your hormones because it all functions as a system. So we don't just fix the first problem and say, okay, you're done. We fix the first problem, reevaluate your symptoms, and then determine, okay, do we need additional lab work to see what's going on with her gut health now so we can fix that problem? Because the reality is, this is your body. You only have one of them. But let's be honest, you've kind of run this bitch into the ground over the last 30, 40, almost 50 years, So it makes sense that she doesn't just need an oil change. She might need, I don't know, new brakes, new tires, maybe a 10,000-mile service, Don't expect your body to be a quick and easy fix that you can just slap $1,000 worth of peptides on 1 month and fix everything. That wouldn't work with a car that you've been driving for 40 years. And it's definitely not going to work with your fucking body. I promise you, once you correct all of those internal pieces, the metabolism, the GI, the hormones, weight loss gets a lot easier. Shit, life gets a lot easier and a lot more fun to live. I've got Chewy over here. He's just like, are you done yet? So I hope this was helpful. And if you want to learn more about what we do and how we do it, just reach out to me on Instagram. You can just send me a DM and say diagnostic and we can hop on a quick call, no strings attached. Basically, I just want to make sure that you are able to make an informed decision because this is your health. It's kind of a big deal. But I will say that we do have the ability to offer peptides to our clients if they need it. And we also have a full team of licensed clinicians that specialize in hormone, metabolic, and gut health. And they can help advise on any peptides or GLP-1s that you might already be on. Because let's be honest, when you go to get that, whether it's from your doctor or at a med spa, you're not really getting a lot of guidance with it. And this is serious shit. So anyhow, like I said, if you want more info, hit me up on Instagram. Otherwise, I'll see you next Tuesday. If this episode felt uncomfortably accurate, I want you to know you're not broken and you're not imagining this. You can follow me on Instagram at sav_tastic, where I talk about everything perimenopause, hormones, metabolism, and what actually works for women in this phase of life. And if you're ready to understand your hormones instead of just guessing or, again, being told that your labs are normal when you don't feel normal, check the link in the show notes. I'll talk to you next time.